So many people don't know this, but Google actually has their own booking page or appointment scheduling page. So you can now, instead of using Calendly or HubSpot Booking or all the other booking services, if you are a Google Workspace user on the business plan, you now have the ability to set up custom booking pages similar to Calendly where people can book appointments with you so they can select how much time they want with you based on what you make available to them. You can also have individual links to specific times. Your availability shows up, and then they can actually fill out their details, and then you can also set up custom questions. So for example, I ask them to provide any relevant information. Once they book it, an automatic Google Calendar invite gets sent out to the person who booked it and yourself. The process for setting it up is actually fairly simple. If you go to your calendar, top left corner, create, and you hit appointment schedule, you'll be able to select all the different settings. So you give it a title, you can go through and select, for this particular booking link, how much time do you want to make it available on this calendar, on this link, and then you can set like your availability, scheduling window, very similar settings to what Calendly has. You can set specific calendars to check for conflicts, add co-hosts, and so forth. The one downside over here is when it comes to the location or the details of where the event is taking place. And so Google provides you with 4 options. Number 1, they obviously love this. By default, Google Meets video conferencing. Number 2 is in-person meeting, and you can specify a location, phone calls, and the person who's booking the appointment will provide their cell phone, and so you can just call them when the time for the meeting comes. And the 4th option is none to be specified later. The Zoom extension, those who have the Zoom extension on the Google Calendar to be able to create Zoom meetings directly from Google Calendar, doesn't work yet on this booking feature. And rightfully so, I guess Zoom wants you to use Google Meets as the default meeting link as opposed to using Zoom. So they don't provide you the option right now to have Zoom as an option. Now, I personally use this. I love it. It's built right into my subscription with Google Workspace, and so I don't have to pay for extra products and be on extra platforms like Calendly. So I switched all my booking links to use Google Bookings. However, many times I like using Zoom as the place for taking, as the tool to take place, to take the, to have the meeting happen. With this process, I'd have to set that up manually. So every time someone books an appointment with me, I'd have to go back and add Zoom details to the calendar invite. And so to solve this problem and have this happen automatically, I use Relay. And so what I simply do is when I'm setting up the settings for this booking page, I say none to be specified later, which basically leaves it blank. So location / description is left blank when someone books a meeting with me. It doesn't tell them how we're having the meeting. Then I use Relay. Relay is a simple automation tool similar to Zapier and Make for those of you who aren't familiar with it yet. And this simple automation tool allows me literally this is the automation. So it's that simple to set up, and I'll walk you through exactly how to set it up. What it does is basically anytime someone books a Google Calendar invite with me through the Google booking page, it adds Zoom details automatically without me having to think about it manually. And so basically the trigger is when event is scheduled. However, I don't want every time an event is scheduled because sometimes I schedule it myself and I don't want Zoom to go ahead and override with new meeting details. And so I have a filter down here that runs that says when the event description contains booked by, and that's because I noticed that every time Google Calendar books an invite, they add a specific type of, they add these words to the event description, so I can run a filter on that. And so basically, if booked by is part of the description, that means Google Calendar probably booked it, and so therefore create run, otherwise skip run. So that's the filter I have running, and it's a simple automation, simple trigger that says every time an event is scheduled, run it on this filter. If it contains these words booked by, which means that it's a Google Calendar booking, go move on to the next step, otherwise cut it. The next step is basically create meeting in Zoom. So it's connected to my Zoom account, and it basically grabs all the event details from the calendar. So the event title, the time and date, the duration, and all the event, the guest emails. It grabs all that information from the Google event and creates a duplicate event in Zoom and generates the Zoom link details and info for the same time, same guest emails, same title. And then the last and final step is simply update the event. And in update the event, we're basically pulling the same event that we had in the trigger. That's the event that we want to go ahead and update. And all we're updating is location. So since I left in the Google Calendar, I left this as none to be specified later. Location ends up being left blank when someone books a meeting there. And so all I have to do is update location with meeting link that was just generated right here. And so this way I can go ahead and still use my Google booking page and not, when I'm setting it up, I don't specify how the meeting is going to take place. However, literally 3 seconds later, Relay goes ahead and adds the Zoom details to my invite link, and it works flawlessly. I specifically like this automation because it helps me not have to rely on multiple products. Like I don't have to rely on Calendly or HubSpot booking anymore. It's built into my subscription. I don't have to pay extra for Calendly. I can have as many booking pages and links as I want. And I can still have Zoom be my default conference details as opposed to having to use Google Meets the way Google wanted to force me. And so hopefully this is helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them.